I'm Jessie, a 30-year-old woman from a close-knit family that includes my mother, my younger sister Lisa, and my grandmother. My grandmother has been bedridden for quite some time, requiring constant care, which my mother provides tirelessly. As a result, she rarely steps out, dedicating her days and nights to our matriarch. Given these circumstances, I've stepped into the role of primary earner for our family. My days are a juggling act of multiple jobs and household responsibilities. Despite the challenges, I know my contributions keep our family afloat. When I return home each evening, I find my mother, Caitlin, beside my grandmother's bed. She greets me with a weary smile, her eyes shadowed by fatigue. "Mom, are you getting enough rest?" I ask, concerned. She shrugs off my worries with a laugh, committed as ever to her role. We lost my father when I was 10, and since then, my mother has raised Lisa and me single-handedly. She worked tirelessly to provide for us, often sacrificing her own needs. With my grandmother's help, we managed, especially during those years when my mother had to work late. I took on more responsibilities early on, helping to care for Lisa after school. I skipped college to start working immediately after high school, aiming to ease our financial burdens. However, when my grandmother fell ill, my mother had to leave her job to care for her full-time. Our financial stability then hinged on my earnings and my grandmother's modest pension. Although my mother often expressed regret over the situation, I was determined to do all I could for our family. Lisa, now in high school, seems unaware of the financial and emotional strains we face. She spends her time with friends and shows little interest in her studies. It's frustrating to see her so detached from our family's challenges, but my mother insists on allowing Lisa the freedom to enjoy her teenage years, never scolding her for her carefree attitude. In this family, each of us plays a vital role, shaped by necessity and bound by love. While the days are long and the responsibilities heavy, I am committed to supporting my family through these tough times, just as they have supported me. I often wished that Lisa could understand our family's precarious situation better. "Mom, are we broke again? I want to go to a party with my friends," she complained loudly as she entered the house, her heels clicking against the floor. "Didn't I just give you your allowance for the month?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "It's not enough. And Mom, you're always busy with Grandma and never have time for me," she retorted, her tone a mix of demand and disappointment. My mother offered a strained smile. "Lisa, I'm sorry, but we don't have extra money right now." Lisa clicked her tongue in frustration and slammed her bag down. "Ugh, this is the worst. Why was I even born into this family?" she exclaimed, causing me to raise an eyebrow at her harsh words. "Have you ever thought about how lucky you are?" I challenged her. "That's easy for you to say, Jessie. You have your own money because you work," she snapped back. "If it's so easy, why don't you try earning some yourself?" Lisa glared at me, but then diverted her attention to her smartphone, typing furiously. She just wouldn't listen. Despite her attitude, my mother continued to indulge her, and as Lisa finished high school, she neither sought work nor further education, instead spending her days dreaming of a glamorous life. Inspired by a past vacation, Lisa often spoke about wanting to open a French restaurant in Florida. "Hey, Mom, if I open a restaurant in Florida, will you help me?" she asked one day, her eyes alight with excitement. "That would be wonderful, Lisa," my mother replied, her voice a mix of surprise and delight. "But, opening a restaurant takes a lot of money." "It'll be fine. I'll figure it out," Lisa declared, her confidence unshaken by reality. I sighed, knowing her lack of experience. "Lisa, opening a restaurant isn't as simple as you think. Shouldn't you start by getting some work experience first?" "Oh, Jessie, you don't have any dreams, do you?" Lisa laughed, dismissing my concerns. Dreams? I had never really allowed myself the luxury of having dreams. My focus had always been on supporting our family. But Lisa's dreams seemed so detached from our reality. Then, one night, as I returned home from work in the pitch dark, only illuminated by the sparse streetlights, I noticed several missed calls from Lisa on my phone. A knot formed in my stomach. I called her back immediately, and she answered in a panic. "Jessie, please, I need your help," she pleaded, her voice edged with desperation. In the background, I could hear the buzz of a crowd. Lisa, what's going on? I got into trouble. Please, come pick me up. Lisa's nights out had become frequent, and her drinking had escalated, often leading to trouble. Where are you? In front of the downtown club. Please hurry. Reluctantly, I drove to her location. Upon arrival, I found a few police officers and Lisa sitting on the curb, disheveled with a scratch on her cheek. A man in a suit was speaking with the officers, looking visibly upset. Are you her sister? One of the officers asked as I approached. Yes, what happened? It seems she hassled this gentleman over some drinks, the officer explained, signaling the gravity of the situation with a stern look. What started as a verbal spat quickly escalated when Lisa struck the man. Sighing, I glanced at my sister, who awkwardly looked away, trying to avoid my gaze. No, it's not what you think. I just had too much to drink, she muttered. But you did hit him, didn't you? The officer asked sternly. Yes, I'm sorry, Lisa admitted, and was arrested on the spot. When we got home later, my mother was anxiously waiting in the living room. As soon as she saw me alone, she rushed over. Where's Lisa? What happened? Taking a deep breath, I explained as calmly as I could. Lisa's been arrested, Mom. Her face lost all color. Arrested?
Why?
What did she do? She asked, her voice trembling. I told her briefly about the incident. My mother sat down heavily, looking stunned. She's not hurt, is she? She asked after a moment, still in shock. No, she's okay, I reassured her, feeling a heavy weight in my chest. The situation seemed far from resolved. Fortunately, Lisa was released the next day. It was her first offense, and the victim chose not to press charges. The police sternly warned her, but Lisa seemed unfazed, as if the whole ordeal didn't concern her. Make sure this never happens again, they cautioned. At home, Lisa repeated excuses like it wasn't a big deal and she was just unlucky. My mother gently admonished her, please don't do this again, but didn't scold her further. Watching this, I couldn't contain my frustration. Why wasn't she being more strict? Enough already. You were only saved because the other party didn't press charges, but it could have been much worse, I exclaimed. Lisa looked away, annoyed. So what? It's not a big deal. Unable to hold back any longer, I snapped. Not a big deal? If that's what you really think, then I give up. Next time, it could be the end of your life. My harsh words finally silenced Lisa. Jessie, don't be so harsh. Lisa is repentant, isn't she? My mother interjected with a worried smile, placing her hand on Lisa's shoulder in an attempt to calm the situation. Repentant? She's not, I retorted coldly, crossing my arms. I've told you before, her drinking habits are terrible. Every time she drinks, she yells and hassles people, and I've been embarrassed by her many times. How many times have I had to pick her up? Can't she stop already? Shut up. I don't want to hear a lecture, Lisa muttered, slumping on the sofa and sulking, ignoring my words. The next morning, I was still troubled by the previous day's events, but Lisa was casually eating breakfast, scrolling through her phone as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, I sighed. No matter what I said, it didn't seem to resonate with her. Hey, Mom, can you lend me some money? I need to relieve some stress and go shopping, Lisa asked nonchalantly.
What? Money?
Lisa, what are you talking about? I couldn't believe my ears. I just need a change of scenery, Jessie. It has nothing to do with you, so leave me alone. Nothing to do with me? Don't joke around, I said, unable to keep my anger in check. The cycle of irresponsibility and denial was exhausting. I fixed my gaze on Lisa, my eyes filled with a mix of disbelief and exasperation. Do you even realize the gravity of what happened yesterday? How can you dismiss it so easily? Lisa, preoccupied with her smartphone, retorted without looking up, Oh, quiet down. It's done, isn't it? It's far from done, Lisa. This is serious, I responded, my voice rising slightly with irritation. Jessie, you just don't know when to stop, she shot back, visibly annoyed by my persistence. I clenched my fists, trying to manage the swirling anger inside, as our mother watched our exchange with a look of deep concern. Mom, I just need a little help. Lisa pleaded, turning to our mother with outstretched hands. As my mother reluctantly began to open her purse, I intervened swiftly. Mom, please don't. You're just enabling her. She hasn't shown any reflection on her actions from yesterday. We can't go on like this. You're always so harsh, Jessie, Lisa murmured, her attention returning to her phone. I bit back on any further arguments, recognizing the futility of continuing the conversation. During this time, our grandmother's health was clearly in decline. She had been confined to her bed for a long stretch, and recently her appetite had dwindled, her moments of lucidity fewer each day. How are you feeling today, Grandma? My mother asked softly, taking her frail hand in hers. Grandma barely managed to open her eyes, whispering a feeble, "Caitlin." Mom, shouldn't we consider the hospital? I suggested with concern. Shaking her head, my mother replied, I've spoken to the doctors multiple times. They've said she could go at any moment. My heart sank with this news, the reality hitting harder than expected. That night, Grandma passed away quietly. My mother, tearful and grieving, clung to her hand, while I stood by, overwhelmed by the sudden void her departure left. The following day, the funeral brought together family and friends in mourning. My mother was particularly stricken, gazing long at Grandma's peaceful face, paralyzed by her sorrow. I remained close, a silent pillar of support. Returning home felt like entering a different world. The absence of Grandma's warm presence turned our home stark and somber. My mother collapsed onto the sofa, enveloped in a deep, silent grief. I sat beside her, lost in the stillness that now pervaded our home. Amidst the heavy air of mourning, Lisa seemed detached, distracted by her smartphone. She broke the silence with a thoughtless remark. Could we maybe get donations from this? Her casual tone was jarring. I stared at her, incredulous. Lisa, really?
Now.
She shrugged off my glare. If there's money, why not? I could use some. This time, even my mother's patience faltered. Enough, Lisa, she said sharply, her voice tinged with frustration. Lisa dismissed her with a wave of her hand. Relax, I'm just joking. Don't get so upset. In the days following, my mother drifted, her spirit dulled by the loss of Grandma, her lifelong anchor. She increasingly sought solace in Lisa's company, perhaps hoping to fill the void left behind. Each morning began with my mother at Lisa's door, asking, What's on your agenda today, Lisa? As though trying to find some direction for herself through her daughter's plans. Whenever my mother planned a shopping trip, she would invariably ask Lisa to accompany her. I don't want to go alone, Lisa. Can you come with me? This request, initially casual, turned into a source of frustration whenever Lisa refused. Whenever Lisa did agree, my mother's face would light up with relief, as if she had been granted a reprieve. Seeing this dynamic, I felt a pang in my heart. I understood my mother's loneliness, but her growing dependency on Lisa made me uneasy. As this dependency intensified, the atmosphere at home became increasingly strained, leading to misunderstandings between my mother and me. Lisa, however, seemed oblivious to these tensions. Hey, Mom, it's time you cheered up, Lisa would say casually, her eyes glued to her smartphone. Why don't we go to Florida? You've been tied down caring for Grandma for so long, and now that she's gone, you deserve a change of scenery. Her words, meant to be uplifting, only angered me. Lisa, stop joking around. Grandma just passed away a month ago. You know that. I snapped, barely containing my frustration. So what? Staying home will just make you depressed. Besides, Jessie, it has nothing to do with you, does it? Lisa retorted, dismissive of my concerns. I was stunned. I'm the one supporting this house. I replied sharply. Whatever, Mom. What are you going to do? Lisa asked, turning back to our mother, who sat silent, her expression uncertain. I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me, fearing she might actually consider Lisa's whimsical idea. That night, I collapsed into bed, utterly exhausted from juggling concerns about home, work, my mother, and Lisa. It was becoming increasingly difficult to find rest. 3 months after my grandmother's death, As I returned home from work, I was greeted by an eerie silence. Neither my mother's nor Lisa's shoes were at the entrance. A sense of dread settled over me as I entered the living room. The furniture was untouched, but their personal belongings were missing, as if they had never existed. Then, my eyes caught a letter on the table addressed to me. To Jessie, we are moving to Florida for Lisa. She only has me now that Grandma is gone, and I want to be there for her. Thank you for everything. I am grateful to you. Please take care of yourself. Mom. I stood frozen, the letter in hand, disbelief coursing through me. No, I couldn't accept it. My mother had chosen Lisa over me despite all my efforts to support the family and care for my grandmother. The thought of them leaving everything behind to move to Florida filled me with a tumultuous mix of anger and emptiness. That night, as I lay in bed, my thoughts were a chaotic whirl of anger and despair. Sleep eluded me. Each time I closed my eyes, the silence seemed to amplify my swirling thoughts. The next morning, I was jolted awake by a notification from my bank. Suspicious attempts to withdraw money had been detected. I immediately opened the banking app and saw records of multiple withdrawal attempts from my account that morning. It didn't take long to put two together. It had to be my mother and Lisa. Shaking with rage, I realized the extent of their betrayal, even attempting to use my money to fund their escape. I promptly contacted the bank to block my cash card, and for added security, I suspended my credit cards as well. Are they out of their minds? I muttered under my breath, feeling a surge of anger, but also a hint of relief knowing I had taken action. I had sensed something amiss when, not long ago, my mother abruptly asked to borrow money. It had seemed strange then, and though reluctant, I had lent her the money without much thought. However, my suspicions had grown when I stumbled upon documents and photographs of properties in Florida spread out on our dining table. They detailed various houses and apartments, and it dawned on me then my mother and Lisa were planning to move to Florida. The loan request from my mother suddenly made sense. Perhaps it was meant for this very purpose. Realizing their intentions, I had preemptively changed the settings on my cards to restrict overseas use. If my mother and Lisa were planning to find themselves financially equipped in Florida, they were in for a surprise. As I pondered my next steps, I realized there was no reason for me to stay in this house. Neither Lisa nor my mother seemed to need me. It's time to end this, I resolved. I'll leave this house and start anew. As I packed my belongings, the phone rang. It was my mother. I hesitated, then answered. What do you want? I asked coldly. Well, actually, there's something I need to tell you, Jessie. My mother's voice trembled slightly. I already know about you and Lisa trying to use my money without permission. I replied, my voice calm but firm, holding back the waves of anger. It wasn't supposed to be like this, but Lisa, she just wouldn't listen. My mother said, her words trailing off. So, you betrayed me for Lisa? I pressed, needing clarity. It's not like that, but for Lisa, I thought living in Florida would be best for her dream of opening a French restaurant, she explained, her voice filled with confusion. That's enough, Mom. You're too lenient with Lisa. Have you forgotten how hard I've worked? My voice shook slightly with emotion, but I continued firmly. What do you think I've been working so hard for? I've seen all the attempts to withdraw money. There was a heavy silence before she finally spoke in a small voice. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. That doesn't fix this, I said sharply and hung up the phone. Almost immediately, Lisa called. I answered, still irate. Jessie, please help me. I don't have enough money to open the restaurant in Florida. Do something, Lisa pleaded, desperation in her voice. Sort it out yourself. You always rely on Mom and me. How long do you plan to keep acting like a child? If you need money, why don't you get a job? I said harshly, making my stance clear. There was silence on the line before Lisa finally responded. I didn't mean for it to be like this. It's too late for any excuses. This is it for us, I declared, ending the conversation definitively. After hanging up, I told myself, this is the end. As I looked around the now half-empty house, a mix of relief and resolution settled within me. After blocking the contacts of both my mother and sister Lisa, I began the process of leaving the house. As I packed my belongings, feelings of bitterness and betrayal weighed heavily on me. I had dedicated myself tirelessly to my family's needs, only to be exploited in return. It was a painful realization, but it made my decision to sever ties and start anew all the more resolute. Living alone for the first time was initially disconcerting, yet it brought an unexpected peace. I cherished waking up at my leisure, spending evenings indulging in my interests rather than shouldering familial obligations. Freed from the burden of supporting others, I redirected my energy into personal growth. I pursued further education, enrolled in courses for career advancement, and even sought out certifications in fields that had always piqued my interest. Each day felt rich and rewarding, a stark contrast to my previous life constrained by family duties. A few months into my new lifestyle, I received a promotion at work, which came with a substantial salary increase. For the first time, I could save without worry, travel on a whim, and indulge in personal luxuries. Sitting back with a cup of coffee, I relished the realization that this was genuinely my life now, crafted entirely by my own efforts. Curiosity eventually led me to check social media. A part of me was still tethered to the past despite my resolve to move forward. I couldn't help but peek at Lisa's profile, where I discovered a stream of posts depicting her struggles in Florida. "Help, life in Florida is tough. I can't find a job. I don't know what to do anymore," she wrote, her timeline a catalog of desperation. I chuckled softly to myself, seeing how they had floundered without my support. A direct message from Lisa popped up. "Jesse, please help." The Lisa I remembered, always confident and somewhat dismissive, had been replaced by someone who sounded desperate and on the verge of tears. Yet, my heart remained untouched. The old me would have dived in to rescue her without a second thought, but that person was no more. I deleted the message unread and closed the app, feeling a profound sense of relief wash over me. As I set down my phone, I murmured to myself, "They made their bed. Now they must lie in it." Sipping my coffee, I realized how free I felt, unburdened by the responsibility for their well-being. They had chosen their path independently, and now they needed to face the consequences of those choices. I was no longer their safety net, and embracing this new chapter, I felt truly liberated.